Hey, Jonathan, how great to talk to you.
Mr. Lithgow. How are you, my friend?
And you can call me John.
Okay, okay. Dear Journal, today Mr. Lithgow told me I may call him John.
Well, first of all, for anybody who's watching us talk, uh, you should know that this is the first time Jonathan and I have ever met. And I am just thrilled by this chance.
I can't believe this is happening. Um, I'm a huge admirer of yours, and it's a huge honor to speak to you right now.
Well,
Uh,
I'm tearing up. I'm tearing up here in Montana. Let me just start by asking you a question. Where the hell did you come from? I mean,
oh,
when I see an actor like you just pop into my field of vision, and I'd never seen you before Lovecraft Country. And then I went running back to see The Last Black Man in San Francisco. But these are your first big jobs, aren't they? Give me your origin story.
you know, it happens in layers, doesn't it? It happens in levels.
Yeah.
I graduated 2016 from the Yale School of Drama. It's been kind of a crazy thing. You mentioned The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I got the role, or I tested for Atticus Friedman and Lovecraft while I was on Last Black Man in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and got the role while I was the day, but 2 days before we shot Last Black Man in San Francisco, I was told I got the role for Lovecraft Country. Yeah.
Was it startling to suddenly be doing movie acting? Because until then, Yale is real heavy theater training.
Well, I'd been training to be an actor since I was about 14 years old. I did my first play outside of school at Shakespeare and Company up in the Berkshires.
In Lennox.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I also heard you played Mercutio in high school. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I did play Mercutio in high school at this place.
I would imagine that was a great Mercutio because he
Yes,
is a
all right.
devil. He's a devil. He's that's what gets him killed in the
Yeah.
play.
Someone once said to me, "You have to take him out. You know, he can't be there." You know, it reminds me of your character in Perry Mason, E.B. Jonathan. In your series, Jonathan can't make it to the end of the movie, to the end of the series, because if he does, the series doesn't happen that way because he
Mhm.
wouldn't allow it. The character has
Yeah,
so much gravity that it
yeah,
wouldn't happen that way. So it is best that the producers, the writer room says, okay, let's pull him aside. That way, our hero, right, Perry
hmm
Mason can handle this, right? This
yeah.
way, our heroes, Romeo and Juliet, can handle this because of Mercutio is present.
That's right.
At this point, we don't have the story that we think we need.
I regard roles like that as booster rockets.
Oh yeah,
That they hurl the plot forward,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's I fully understood my role. I didn't take this as an indignity at all. But it is
yeah,
kind of our lot. You play those roles and you burn out. You flame out
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
I would compare E.B. Jonathan with Lord Farquaad in Shrek, who gets he
Wicked.
gets eaten by it. He gets eaten by a dragon. But then
Yeah,
there were four sequels to Shrek, and I like
yeah.
to think I had something to do with
You definitely
that.
launched it, my brother. You
That's
definitely
right.
launched it.
You know, you and I started the same way. I mean, I went to college, but then went to drama school after that in London,
Yeah,
and
Lambda, correct?
at Lambda. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was all Chekhov, Shaw, Shakespeare,
Yep.
Restoration, comedy.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
movies was the last thing on my mind, or what I even expected to ever do. When I was first on a movie set, I knew
Oh wow.
nothing. It was a freaky experience, but I've always felt that insecurity is a good thing when you're acting in front of a camera. Just
Insecurity and ignorance, I would say.
yes, right, because the camera's catching all sorts of stuff that's much better than anything you could plan or calculate.
So for you, do you feel different in the moment to moment? Because that is one of the things I do. One of the many things I love about your work is that how how independent you are on stage, how independent you are on film, and yet you're so connected to your partner.
I think theater and film and TV are very different in one basic way. I mean, all the major things are the same. You got to know your lines.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be prepared. You got to make connection. You got to understand a scene.
Yep.
But in theater, you spend 4 or 5 weeks isolated from your audience and getting it exactly right and getting it to the point where you may be nervous the first time you face an audience,
Right.
but you
Right.
know exactly what you're going to do. And
Right.
in film, it's what we just glancingly mentioned. There is insecurity. It is a
Yeah.
somewhat improvisational meeting. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing about being an actor is you've got to go on somebody else's journey all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you're working in with a new director in a new genre in a new kind of work, you got to go on their journey.
Yeah.
And of course, you have a huge role to play in the creative process and making it happen. And they're
Right.
taking as much from you. They're taking your lead as much as you're taking their lead.
Yes, sir.
But somebody else is creating the atmosphere. I mean, there's
Yes,
so
sir.
much difference between doing Third Rock from the Sun, for example,
Right.
a
Yeah.
wild sitcom in which you've been desperately rehearsing for about 4 days in order to hit
Uh-huh.
the audience. That is
Hmm.
so different from doing, well, either King Lear or showing up to do 2 days on somebody else's movie.
Right.
When you have not had a chance to rehearse, you barely. Yeah, that's movies. You got to be ready for all sorts of astonishing surprises, and well, you're already accustomed to that. And in so many ways, you're putting the audience at ease. You're telling them, "I know what I'm doing here." It's like, and I felt that immediately when I saw you in Lovecraft. It was just like, wow, here's a young man who knows exactly what he's doing. Uh, even though I don't know what was going on in your head when you did it, but you're such a fine actor, and you can already tell.
We can end the interview here. We can end our chat here. It's been
No,
said by
no,
John Lithgow.
no.
Goodbye, everybody.
I don't know. As you know, it's so different one job to another. When
Yes.
when I worked in London, I was playing Churchill about 4 or 5 years ago, and that was
Right.
a matter of completely changing myself physically and stuffing things into my mouth to give him my that lisping in the back. Working in very precisely.
Right.
Not to mention Bombshell playing Roger Ailes with two and a
Correct.
half hours of makeup.
And
Uh,
the aforementioned Lear as well.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. With the beard. I saw that preparation.
well,
We all saw that preparation.
that was a 2 or 3 month long preparation, simply growing the beard.
That's
I,
it?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a pretty good long beard. All I did was go
Boom.
every night, and I grew it much quicker that way. No.
Wow.
Now, what about you? Do you aspire to getting back to the theater? Do you miss the theater?
Oh, I do. I do miss it a lot. A lot. Something about the intimacy of it in a
Hmm.
different way, you know. And it's different.
I've always said that it's, because you're living through the story at the same moment the audience
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
hearing it and
Mm-hmm.
feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much, much more intense experience, as intense as movie acting is.
If I'd come at it a different way, I would try to I would halt everything and try to run back to the theater. But I'd done so much of it, and trained in it so much that I'm still into the confessional vibration a little bit, you know.
It's just going to be so interesting to see what happens to you, Jonathan, because you're so equipped. You're equipped in two very different disciplines. So you can go back and forth. I remember when I wrapped up 6 years on Third Rock from the Sun, I went back to New York and I just did 2 or 3 plays in a row, including my
Mm.
first musical, and just played for live audiences for a while.
Yeah.
And then so reemerged, not by calculation entirely, but it was like this was a good time to just let people forget about Third Rock
Uh-huh.
and then rediscover it.
Well, you have such a capability to access and share different parts of yourself. You know, I mean, I think that is not a characteristic that a lot of actors have. You know, and you have the appetite. Feels like to go to that place. You know, for your character in Thurrock of the Sun, and then go to a different place. And I think audiences view us as we want to be viewed. You know, if you're brave enough to share a certain part of yourself, they'll accept it, you know, but they
Yeah.
can always tell when you bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I think folks get in trouble. You know, I think that's where we can all get in trouble.
Well, I hope we do work together sometime. I mean, that's why I did this interview, so that you would
Get
request
out of
you would request
here.
me. We are going to act together. I'm sure about it.
That would be a ball. Oh my goodness.
This has been so much fun. I
Yeah, it's
just
wicked,
loved
man.
it. I really loved it.
Really good. Really good. I'm so
And good
happy.
luck. Good luck at the Emmys.
My
Yeah.
brother, you too. You
I
too.
fully expect to lose to your cohort, Michael K. Williams, and he deserves it. And I'll be happy for him. I've had my share.
That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. My
Well, you
goodness.
give him my best if you talk to him.
I
Okay,
absolutely will,
he's
sir.
great. The two of you, just great.
All right, take care of yourself, John.
You bet.